Hey guys, and welcome to the Tap and Go podcast, where we talk all things rugby with players, coaches and pundits from across the world. Today we have a stud of a Sevens player. He was a 2016 Rookie of the Year and is now one of the core members of the Aussie Sevens squad. How is quarantine in Australia going for you, Henry Hutchison?
Hey boys, thanks for having me on. Start of a Sevens player. Gosh, I'm flattered. Feeling good already. Look, quarantine here has been, let's be honest, it's been boring. But I think for everyone it's been essential. But we're getting through it, and hopefully we'll be back on the field playing soon.
Obviously, talk about that. Have you guys had any inkling about what's going to happen with the World Series and how it's going to restart back up?
Yeah, well, Sevens is a tough one, I guess. It relies so much on international travel. Like, we play 10 tournaments a year, like on a normal calendar year, and it's 10 different stops around the world. So we're always on the move. And obviously right now, not many countries are traveling and not allowing their residents and their citizens to either leave or come back in at the moment, as we all know. So, look, World Rugby, I know, are really keen to push for the last 4 tournaments to be played this year, which is Hong Kong, Singapore, and London, Paris. I think for World Rugby's sake, they would be happy to get the games back broadcasted. And for the players' sake too, like we've done nothing for 3 or 4 months. So I know they're pushing for it. If it gets done, who knows? I'm sure there's a lot of teething issues to get through, but it's the Sevens world's on a bit of a pause at the moment, and it's been tough.
Yeah, sure. So 2016, what a year for you. So you came out straight out of school, made Rookie of the Year and travelled the world. What was that like as, I guess, a fresh 18-year-old?
Yeah, it was pretty unreal. It happened really quickly. Like I said, it was my first year out of school, and I was a baby, 18, pretty sheltered life up until then, really. And you get thrown into a very competitive environment very quickly, and I think it's sink or swim, and like any competitive sport. And I think I really enjoyed that environment. And the Australian men's team was quite an old team at the time, and I was the youngest by a long while. And I think that was tough at first, but in the long run, it made it a lot better for me. They pushed me, and I grew and developed from that. And all of a sudden, I found myself going to most of the stops and getting awards at the end of the year.
So I think one thing which me and Matt want to know is like a typical day of like an Aussie Sevens player. Say it was the day before the start of the tournament. Like, what was do you have any pre-match rituals or anything interesting which the squad you do as a squad or individually?
Yeah, it's strange. It is strange because you play 3 days in one game. You want a good draw, because if you got a bad draw, you're up early. And you're up early playing against not many people in the crowd. It feels like you're back playing under 10s on the 5th paddock with mum and dad and the dog watching. So good draw is crucial. Get a bit of an extra sleep in. The crowd can roll in. So, yeah, you wake up. I don't know if you boys know, but when we tour, all the teams stay in the same hotel. So, it's always an interesting 2 weeks away or 3 weeks away. You share the flat, your level with maybe the South Africans and the Kiwi team, and you might have them both in your pool. So you see them all week, and then you kind of see each other in the elevator going down, and you're going to play each other. But I like that. You get to know the boys from the other team reasonably well. So after you get through the small talk, you kind of get out in the field. You're warming up. I don't really have any pre-game rituals. Like, I go through the same kind of exercises and drills that I do to prepare my body. And I'm pretty fastidious on that. Like, I keep them all the same because I know what works for my body. And it can get a bit boring and tedious because you do it 6 times in a weekend. But I know for me, it works. Other boys, they have their own little strange things they like to do. I know Joshy Coward is one of the new boys, very confident. He loves to just walk around naked. He says it makes him feel a bit relaxed. So got him walking around somewhere, and you're sharing a room with another with another team, and they're kind of looking over like, what's going on over here? But works for him, and whatever works for you, I guess the boys just roll with it.
You talk about how obviously during tournaments you're all quite talking like all the teams here. Are there any of the other teams which you like Australia get on pretty well with? Are you sort of closer with say South Africa than you are with Fiji or?
Yeah, definitely. I think if you ask anyone on the Seven circuit, they'd say the South Africans are the most polite and gentleman-like, really good blokes. So we do get on very well with the South Africans. Every year's different with new people coming in and changes of the guard and old kind of friendships leaving. On a personal note, I've always really enjoyed the English boys, Tom Mitchell, and that kind of crew. It's funny, like there's very strong rivalry, but the Aussies and the Poms very similar. Obviously, the Argentinians are a bit harder to speak to in the French because of the language barrier. But you got your favourites and you got the teams that you don't like so much as well.
So you speak about sort of preparation before a game. So with 15s, you might have a week or 2 weeks before to sort of, get your tactics in for a specific team and to, scout them and so on. But when you play in the sevens, you've got a weekend and a whole handful of games. Do you, as a sevens team, do you prepare to play against a particular team, or do you only focus on your own game to make it as best as you can?
Yeah, I think that's one of the massive differences between the two games, and they really are becoming quite separate games. I think as years go on and on, sevens is becoming more and more professionalised and an individual program in itself. And one of those differences is definitely like 15s. You know who you're playing for a week. You prep a week. You got all that tactic, and it's so tactical and clinical, and you know the game plan to a T. And if you don't, you're probably not doing your job well enough. With sevens, you know your pool, so you know the other three teams that you'll play. But after that, it's whoever turns up on the day. So we do have specific game plans for specific teams. For instance, when we play the Kiwis, we know they're a big, powerful team, and they like to slow the game down because they've got a lot of power runners and bigger boys, and they take you on physically, and they want to step through you. So we might want to fasten the pace up of the game. We want to try and maybe move the ball around and keep it moving. Whereas, with the Kenyans, that they can run all day. So it's a different type of game. So there is different tactics to attack different teams, but I think your biggest Achilles heel in sevens is looking too far ahead. Like, you can't be thinking about your third pool game, your third match of the day, which is probably the most important pool game, and forget about the first two, because ever since I've started playing since 2016, where, you could probably get through the first game and second game might be tough and then go switch on for the third. That's not the case anymore. Every team's good. Every team can win the tournament on the weekend. And that's one of the best things about sevens. Like, there's 16 really good teams now.
Yeah, for sure. So do
you have a favourite tournament then out of them all?
Yeah, I think Hong Kong has to trump it. Like, it's so cliche. I'm sure if you ask a lot of sevens players, they would say it, but there's something just majestic about the whole week. Like, the whole city, like, they know you're there. They love it. It's just massive. The lead up to it, the atmosphere inside the stadium. I think there's a statistic out of all the alcohol consumed in Hong Kong annually, 5% of it is consumed in those 3 days inside that stadium. So it's wild. I've just never played in an atmosphere just quite like it. Like, Twickenham's fantastic. Dubai is awesome when it's filled, and what else is great? Cape Town. Like, they're all selling out, but the lead up for the whole week in Hong Kong, it's special. So, you ask a lot of sevens players, they might say the same thing, but it really is a good week.
So I guess sometimes you get with the Hong Kong sevens, you see the fans, perhaps drink too much, and you get streakers. As players,
Yeah.
do you get sort of annoyed when you see streakers, or do you just find it funny?
Oh, look, I've never had a streaker when I've played. I've only ever watched it happen from my bedroom, and I've thought it's hilarious. But look, you're so focused out there, not much throws you. Like, you know, Hong Kong, Twickenham, there's a lot going on in the stadiums, and you only like temporarily switch off to realise it. Otherwise, it's all just a blur. I'm sure if someone ran on the field naked in front of me, I would probably realise. But look, I couldn't answer that question honestly, 'cause I wouldn't know. But props to them; they've had a good crack. Probably a bit too many to drink.
There's also something which I found was the story of the Australian 17 trying to break some Guinness World Records. Can you just elaborate a little bit on tell everyone what you were trying to break there?
Oh, we had in rugby in Australia, we have our like Rugby Union Players Association. It's kind of like our union called RUPA, and one of the workers for RUPA was also a official Guinness Book of Records judge, I guess. Peter Fairbairn. Anyway, he's a good lad, and he kind of got in talks with Ben O'Donnell, one of the senator in our team. He's a good fella, and we said, look, wouldn't it be a good idea if you guys could break some really like weird, quirky Guinness Book of Records and see if you guys can get your name in the big book? And we're like, yeah, it'd be a great idea. So Bod kind of looked up the history of the Guinness Book of Records and found out what we could potentially beat. And we had a crack at throwing like a tortilla as far as you can, or there was one at undressing a doona and then dressing a doona cover back up as quickly as you can. I partook in the most rugby tackles. I can't even remember it. It was 2 rugby bags kind of standing up 10 meters apart, and I had to kind of tackle one, get back on my feet, turn around and tackle the other one, and as much as I can in a minute. I thought it'd be really easy, so I kind of pumped myself up, and I went for it. And the Guinness Book of Record guy, Peter, he was timing, and he stuffed the time up. He's like, "Oh, you missed it," and I missed out by about 2 tackles. And then I was cooked. I nearly vomited. I was all over the shop. And then afterwards, he walked up to me and he's like, "Oh, mate, I stuffed up the timing. You still had about 8 seconds to go." I was like, "Oh, mate, what are you doing to me?" So I had to get up and did it again, and I got it, but they haven't been officially signed off or anything. I've been chasing Bod all year about it because I want my name in the book, and I pushed myself to my limits and didn't get the reward. Now I'll chase him up about it because it should be justified, and
Yeah,
in the book would be good fun.
Make it a hashtag, justice for Henry.
Yes, you should press it. Try and plug that.
So there was another funny story with the hitch up with yourself in the Melbourne Cup, and that sort of went viral about last year. Do you mind if you again just talk about that? Because yeah,
look, it seems like I'm caught in the middle of all these kind of sort of stories. No, this was a good one, and it was at an important time too. We were playing Samoa. Well, we were playing in the Oceania qualification for the Olympics. So, as you boys know, from the 2018-2019 season, the top 4 automatically qualify for the Olympics. So we missed out. We didn't come top 4. So then you have to go to your region, play in your region, and the winner of your region, just the winner goes through to the Olympics. So we played in the Oceania tournament, which is a pretty tough tournament. It's like Europe and Oceania. It's very competitive. So we had to play Samoa, and it's a pretty low-key tournament. You know, there's no crowd there. You're literally just playing in Fiji in the back of Suva, but it is so important because if you don't win, you got to go play in a repechage a week out, or not a week out, a month out of the Olympics to try and book your spot. You know, the last spot to go. So it was a stressful week. You know, boys were nervous. Anyway, while we're over there, the Melbourne Cup was running back home in Australia, and our assistant coach is named called Stephen Hoyles. He's an ex-Wallaby. He's played at Waratahs and Brumbies, and in Rugby Australia, he's got a pretty well-known reputation of being a jokester or a prankster. I could sit here for hours and ramble off stories and stuff that he's done. He's very proud of it as well. Like he won't deny any of them. Anyway, I don't bet. I'm not a bettor, so I don't bet on. I don't like the tab. I don't punt on horses or the dogs, which a lot of the boys do, but doesn't do it for me. So he thought it'd be a great idea to kind of try and stitch me up and loosen up the boys before the tournament and get me on this race. Anyway, what he's done, he's made a kitty to put your name in a hat and pull out a horse, and everyone put in like, I don't know, a couple $100, and whatever horse you draw, that's what you get, and hopefully it runs well in the race. Little to my knowledge, he had cut up the draw of last year's race, and obviously knowing the winner of last year, he'd set it all up so that I would pull out the winner. So then I was like, oh yeah, like, oh, I've got and Hoyles, he kind of teed me up. He's like, oh, that's a really good horse, Henry. It's a pretty good horse. I'd keep that, because then you could bet for the horse. So if someone wanted my horse, they could go, I'll pay an extra 200 for Henry's horse. And I'd go, no, I'll pay an extra 300, whatever it is, to keep it. So little to my knowledge, one of the boys who was in on it kind of betted me up for my horse. And I was like, oh, so I went doubled down on the horse so I could keep him because I thought he was good. I knew he was good. Anyway, up comes the race on the TV. I was so unaware of it. Looking back on it, it was so dumb by me. Like, there's an HDMI going into from the computer into the TV. Like, Hoyles has got this race up on YouTube, little to my knowledge, and it's a really good race. I forgot the horse's name. I don't know. He comes from the back of the pack. He's nowhere. And I'm at the front, kind of watching it, like, because I think the winner was going to take home about $2,000, bit of cash. Anyway, my horse, in about 400 to go, spits out on the back straight and just starts kicking. He just kicks, and I'm like, oh my God, look at him go. He's going so well. Like, he's come from 10th, he's now 5th, and I'm starting to carry on like a pork chop. Like, I've never won anything before like this in my life. I'm carrying on, and this horse just goes, and it's this fantastic finish, and he wins. And I am, confident and cocky, getting up in the boys' face, like, yeah, carry on. And not everyone was in on it, and people kind of started to realize that was last year's race, but had realized that I hadn't picked up on it. Anyway, I'm carrying on, and then Walshy and Hoyles here just shaking their heads, and then we go to this new room. I'm still walking. Everyone's kind of filming me. I'm getting this weird vibe. I'm like, why is everyone so like upset that I won? Blah, 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 blah. And I walk in and into this another room, and the Melbourne Cup's on. And I was like, what's this? And one of the boys was like, oh, it's the victory lap, mate. Your horse is doing a victory lap. And I was looking at it, and they're getting into the kind of the starter block area. I don't even know what it's called. And I was just like, oh my God, I didn't win, did I? And the laughter, and like, I was just the center, like, everyone's paying me out. It was just so bad. And it was all filmed, and it was all cut up to make it look even worse. And the internet does amazing things, and off it went, and never let that one down. But in saying that, I got to experience winning a Melbourne Cup. No, not many people have been able to experience that.
You had the same feeling of doing it.
Exactly. Just didn't quite get the reward.
Would you say the team camaraderie is sort of the best part about it? Because that seems like quite a close-knit group of boys and so on.
Yeah, definitely. Like, that's what I really enjoy about the sevens as well. Like, just smaller squad, but also when you're 2 or you're 13, so you're tight. So when you go out and do your team activities, you can go as a whole group rather than 15s, such a big group, and there's such a big tour group. So there's a lot of, like, you're all close and boys and all that, but like, you have your groups and your posses that do your own thing. With the sevens, you really do become a close kind of family on tour, and for Oceania, that was such a stressful time for us all. I think that playing that on the Thursday before we started playing on the Friday, it was what we needed. But unfortunately for me, at the expense of me.
Yeah, sure. So for any of the
No, you go,
new boys, is there like an initiation or anything to get into the Aussie 7 squad?
Oh, yeah. Back when I debuted, there was, but not so much anymore. 2020,
Yeah, sure.
got to be a little bit more careful. But no, yes and no. You cop a bit of flack until you've debuted, but it's all fun and games. And then once you debut, you get the monkey off your back. You're the first person to give the flack back to someone else. So not really, not so much so anymore. Usually just a few beers afterwards, which is good fun.
So there, you talked about how you didn't qualify for the Olympics, but you got there in the end. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your experiences going to Olympics, like the opening ceremony. It must have been amazing for you.
Yeah, really surreal for me. I think growing up, the Olympics were a massive dream of mine. I didn't know how I was going to get there at the time. I loved athletics. But as soon as rugby sevens became a viable option to go to the Olympics with, rugby sevens then became a big carrot for me. Some of my earliest memories are the Sydney 2000 Olympics. So ever since around that time, I've really wanted to go, and then obviously been there and been in Rio with, arguably some of the best athletes in the world. It was amazing, and it was an experience I'll never forget. Very blessed and honoured to represent my country at the Olympic Games, and was hoping to do it again in 2020, but it might have to be postponed, or it will be.
Sure. So I guess one of the thing about the Olympics is the athletes' village and how it's such almost a mystery for everyone outside it. So I guess a couple of questions. Do actual sort of different countries and different sports interact with each other, or do you stay quite, I guess, with each other? Sort of Australia Sevens stick together.
Well, you stay in. So when in Rio, it's like a big bubble. It's so strange, and you kind of cut off from reality for 2.5 weeks, and you eat there, you shower there. You don't really leave unless to compete or after your event is done. So we stayed in the Oceania building. So I think Australia had 12 floors, and then there's like Fiji on top of us and Papua New Guinea and all those nations. And then next to you will be like the Polish building, and Poland might share it with, Norway. And then next to you, on the left of you, will be China. And they'll have their whole building to themselves, just depending on the size of the Olympic team. So it's really weird, but then you all kind of congregate and eat at the same place. It's this big dining hall. Fits like 10,000 people, just goes forever, and there's every cuisine you could ever think of. It's all available. And I guess you're kind of forced to interact because you live with each other for 2.5 weeks. You eat with each other. You're not always going to get a table with 12 seats ready to go. Like, you're going to have to sit down and start up a conversation with some athletes you've never met before. But it's a magical thing. It was pretty amazing, and you see some big dogs there, and you're like, oh god. Like, I remember when Usain Bolt came in, and the whole I was at the eating tent, and Usain Bolt came in, I think after he won his 1 and 2, and it was like a movie star rocked up. It was like all the other famous athletes, all of them just ran to him to try and get photos. It's pretty surreal.
I guess one thing about the Olympics is once the teams finish their events, there's the rumours of the massive parties going on within the village. Yeah. Are these true?
Yeah, I guess. Well, when we left, we finished early, so we started playing on the 3rd day of the games. So we were finished by the 6th day. So we had I think it was 12 days in Rio. Afterwards, I was ready to go home by then. Don't take me back to Rio. It was my last few days there. But yeah, so we were finished. So we we get to experience the city, go out, do whatever. But it does become pretty fun, but you've also got to be very mindful of other athletes that they haven't competed either. So there's a bit of this and that, but most of the countries have like home bases outside the tent. So there's like an Australian house and like a Germany house and an American house. And that's kind of like their headquarters. And that's where family and friends and partners or whatever can go and meet you, because they can't come into the village. You can only be an athlete or a coach to be in the village. So that's kind of where you would meet, and that's where they would hold like functions or these parties. So for the parties and all of that, which do happen, you go to these houses, and I think the most famous one, it was pretty good, is the Dutch house. It was pretty cool. I remember and you get invited, you get tickets and stuff like that. It's kind of weird, but like you kind of befriend some athletes in the village, and then they go, okay, I've got 20 tickets to the Dutch house party tonight. Okay, hectic. Mad. See you there. I remember I was there one night, and one of their athletes won a gold medal in, I think it was, I can't even remember. And like, it's a big ceremony. Like they kind of like walk up like a kind of red carpet. Everyone's kind of there. Everyone's in orange. The whole house, like it's a big mansion, but it's all in orange. And there's like a DJ, like a famous Dutch DJ there playing, and like they get the medal put on them there, and there's like orange confetti everywhere, and like, yeah, it's pretty wild. And like everyone's welcome, so it's not just Dutch, as obviously Dutch athletes because we were there, but there's athletes from all over the world. They go to the Italy house, all of that. It's pretty cool.
Sure. So I guess you spoke previously about the development of sevens in the future and how it's, I guess, almost becoming a separate game, which is definitely true. So I guess in the past, you almost saw the sevens program was maybe a gateway into the 15s, but now perhaps it's even the opposite with some cases like the USA and Canada and so on. And I guess Australia just built their Australian Rugby Development Centre, which would have been pretty good for all the sevens boys. Where do you see, I guess, the sport going in the future?
Yeah, definitely. I think when I left school, it was definitely a stepping stone, and it was still just viewed as a stepping stone. I think with the Olympics now as a option every 4 years, it's becoming more of a full-time role, and you're seeing full-time specialised sevens rugby players just have a career in sevens. I still think it can act as both. I think it's a fantastic stepping stone into the 15s game as for a young fella. So often you see really good 18, 19-year-olds go into the 15-match game and play a pro game and get broken and bashed and kind of spat out the other end, and that's it. Or they just haven't learnt the skills yet, or they're one-dimensional. Where sevens, you learn so many skills. Like, you can't just be good at one job in sevens. You kind of have to be good at everything and maybe like a master of one. So sevens allows players to really develop their game and then go and then move on. But yeah, it is becoming more and more likely, like more and more not likely, more and more often that players are staying in sevens and becoming specialised players. You look at Dan Norton, Tom Mitchell, and players like that from England. USA, they really lead the way for rugby in their country.
I think just as one final thing before we finish is your best seven that you've ever played against. So I was wondering if you could give us a little bit of insight.
Yeah, tough. There's been some good players. I think played against. I remember for forwards, Akira Ioane at prop was ruthless, and they even played him on the wing sometimes. I remember I was like, oh, please don't come out to the wing. I remember Sydney Sevens, he palmed me in the face and I ate dirt in front of 50,000 people. It was pretty embarrassing. But he was just so dynamic at sevens. He was very good. Hooker Closeknit, playing for the Springboks now, so strong. Just workhorse. This pretty good player. And then I definitely have on the other prop, I can't really pronounce his name, Leona Nakawara, the Fijian second rower, plays for Racing, or he did play for Racing Metro. I think he got Just couldn't tackle him. Couldn't tackle it. Like, well, you could tackle him, he'd offload. You couldn't. It's almost unmarkable. It's ridiculous. It's like a glitch. Jerry Tuai at 9, another glitch. Just, stepped. But Jerry Tuai is also so good on the ball. Like, you make a break against against the Fijian boys, and they tackle you like at the feet of Jerry Tuai. Bang, he's on the ball and he's taking it. Playmaker. It's really important to have a good playmaker because sevens, they're all ball runners and everyone's so good at attack. You need someone to feed those attackers. So someone like Cecil Africa, just recently retired, like ideal playmaker, like Silky, he can jam and he can pull out the hot stuff when he can. But like the space he created for his players around him is phenomenal. I think Louis Holland is very similar for us. When Louis is on, his ball playing skills are unreal. Centre, I'd have Vakatawa, the French, another glitch. It's almost impossible to tackle and stop the ball from moving at the same time. And then on the wing, Sibelo Sanatla is just prolific try scorer. Just scores tries, and that's his job. So like rugby fast with ball in hand, powerful, could sniff out a try any day of the week. Gosh, if you've rolled that team together, give you a bit of head noise, it'd be hard to stop.
You guys heard it here first. So I guess a question that we asked all our guests is their favourite moment of their career. What would yours be?
There's been a few. I've been very lucky and blessed to have an enjoyable career so far. Hopefully it still goes. Got a few more years in me to create a few more, but I still remember probably in my debut year, 2016, I hadn't really, I guess, made a name for myself as of yet, and I was still young and coming through. And we were playing England in the Sydney Sevens quarterfinal. And it was the inaugural Sydney Sevens. It was big hit, all sold out. It was the first time I could play in front of my family and friends at a professional level. And it was all tied up. We were down 7-12 with about a minute to go in the second half. And I came off the bench. And, the coach at the time, Andy Friend, threw me on. It's like, just go have a crack, mate, whatever. Showed some faith in me. And I was able to score on the try with about, 30 seconds to go. We were unable to convert. So it was 12-all. So it then went to extra time. And the extra time in sevens, it's like golden goal. First point wins. So pretty, you're pretty stressed out. Like seriously, one missed tackle, that's over. And it would be so good to knock the Poms out in a home tournament and go into a semi-final. And again, I found myself in a position down late in the first half, and I crossed over in the left-hand side corner to knock them out and put us through to the semi-final. And it was just kind of all happened so quickly. And yeah, it was special. It was really special. Once that moment sunk in, I realised it was a pretty big moment that I won't forget for a long time.
Huge. Henry, thank you so much. This has been amazing. I think that's about all we've got time for. But that was really interesting, especially because all we've had really is 15s players and 15s coaches. This has offered a completely different view on everything. But thank you so much.
No, boys, anytime. Pleasure coming on. Like I said, I've been watching a few of your podcasts, and it's really great to be a part of what you guys are doing. And hopefully you can get a few more sevens boys on.
Yeah, well, hopefully. See if anything get up to the Guinness World Record holder that we've had first.
That's it.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone else for listening.
Thanks, guys.
Come on!